My name is Esteban Eroski. I am jeweler and enameler, and I am a descendant of forced migrants. The history starts in the past cycle. My paternal grandfather, my paternal grandmother, my uncle, and my father is a forced migrant. My grandfather was expelled from Spain and disappeared. My grandmother, with my father and my uncle, had to flee Spain because if they didn't, they would be killed. Initially, they emigrated to France, but they had to flee from there about the Nazis. Later, they emigrated to Italy, from Italy to Venezuela, Venezuela to Panama, and finally, they arrived to Mexico. This diaspora lasted 10 years, and they had not noticed from my grandfather. They believed that he had been murdered or killed. No? 10 years later, a miracle happened, and they found him in Mexico City. The family was together again, in another country, in another culture, but together again. They were starting a new life in an incredible new country. They never returned to Spain. In Mexico, my grandfather died. In Mexico, my grandmother died. In Mexico, my uncle died. And in Mexico, my father will die. He's a forced migrant. All of them are a forced migrant that never returned to her country. My mother is also a descendant of forced migrant too. Her great-great-grandfather came to Mexico, fleeing from Europe. We don't know the exact origin, but he was from Central or Eastern Europe. He's a Sephardim descendant. Don't have photos or documents about there. Only the memory of my grandmother. He started courting my great-great-grandmother, but she rejected him in Antwerp. He kidnapped her and took her away from her family. They had 8 daughters, and 6 of them died during their diaspora. I think a lot of people died in these times, no? They had to flee because the Mexican Revolution, and had to flee again because the Cristero War, living some cities of Mexico. Some years later, my grandmother was forced migrant, abandoned by her husband, and ended up alone in Mexico City with her 3 daughters, my mother, and 2 sisters. My dad and my mom meet in Mexico City. They fell in love and joined their lives, and they never had to flee again. They reunited their cultures, their traditions, their customs, and create a new family, my family. But never forgot her traditions, no? Her histories, her suffering, and her joys. They told me about how people, despite having to migrate and leave everything that they have, but they will always carry their tradition with them. I have done the tornaviaje. Tornaviaje is a word that means to make the return trip. Talks about returning to the place of origin. I migrate to my family place of origin. I migrate to Spain. I am a migrant, son of forced migrants, and in my jewels I speak of pain, of joys, of tradition, of longing, of migration, gender conflict, body migrants, and talk about of those who never arrived. I speak of memory. I speak about realities and dreams. I talk about new families and talk about lost families. I portrayed about the disappearance of memory and memories. The time slowly erases everything, and with our history goes away, never return. Yo quiero guardar la memoria de mi familia antes de que desaparezca. Ni le familia en memoria, Gordenai Dud, Desaget Dubai Nolen. I want to keep the memory of my family before it disappears forever. This is my work. Talk about the families before disappear.